Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Poduska, star maker for entrepreneurs who want to unlock their potential, command any stage, and make blockbuster profits. Welcome to Thrive, the show where I bring you tips, resources, and people to help you create a brand that makes you happy and profitable. Here we go.
Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Poduska, and welcome to this episode of Thrive with my special guest, Gail Ockerbloom Freeman. Gail Ockerbloom Freeman is the founder of a unique business in Winchester, Massachusetts called Studio on the Common, where she combines a gift shop with an art studio for kids and adults and a leadership and team building center for business professionals. Prior to founding the studio, Gail was the vice president of strategy and communications for the Cambridge-based Institute of Healthcare Improvement. And she was also the senior director of corporate marketing for RSA, a billion-dollar technology leader. Gail brings her love of art along with her love of business and brand savvy together to help foster creativity and innovation in kids, adults, and business professionals. On this episode, Gail talks to us about what it means and what it takes to truly be an innovative thinker and why innovative thinking is what is going to be on the cutting edge of healthcare moving forward to cure diseases. She talks to us about the importance of positive psychology when problem solving and how following that positive thought process really is the key to unlocking and solving really complex problems. We talk about the importance of creativity in business and how adults can learn from children to use and expand their minds through creativity. And Gail also shares with us what the leading edge, the cutting edge, the new wave of leadership really looks like. It's not the old dinosaur of do as I say, ask no questions. There is a new wave of leadership coming down the line. And if you're not on board, you're going to get left behind. And Gail shares those three key elements to have in place if you want to be a new leader of a new age and use innovation to expand your profits and your impact. She's a great guest. She's from my town. I'm excited to have her here. So I know you're going to get a lot out of this episode. I also want to let you know that I am launching my celebrity brand launchpad for entrepreneurs who want to be powerful and profitable speakers. This is my private coaching, consulting business, part of my business, where you can come and learn how to be polished, professional, and profitable using your brand to create more celebrity buzz and to make impact and profits when you speak about your business on stage and online. So if you're somebody who wants to be on big stages, keynote speaking, speaking at conferences, selling from the stage, in the media, really having an impact, this is for you. And you can check it out at heatherpoduska.com and go to the consulting tab. Okay, on to the show, on to Gail. I hope you enjoy this episode of Thrive. Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Poduska, and welcome to Thrive, the show where I bring you tips, resources, and people to help you create a more abundant life and business. You are in for high-value content coming to you from industry leaders who are growing their business, making an impact, and rocking their brands. And I am thrilled to have my guest here with me tonight, Gail Ockerbloom Freeman, who's the owner of the Studio on the Common in Winchester, Massachusetts, which opened its doors in October 2015. Studio on the Common is a unique gift shop as well as an art studio that hosts creative classes for children and adults, private events, and unique and creative business offsites focused on strategy, team building, leadership, and organizational planning. Prior to founding the Studio on the Common, Gail was the Vice President of Strategy and Communications for the Cambridge-based Institute for Healthcare Improvement, a $40 million nonprofit committed to improving healthcare safety and quality around the world. Gail has over 25 years of experience in strategy, brand, marketing, and communications for companies like RSA, EMC, and Microsoft. Gail currently serves on the board of the Stella Rosie Foundation, an organization dedicated to providing housing and schooling to promising students in Uganda who couldn't otherwise have the opportunity for higher education. And I am thrilled to have Gail with me here tonight. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Heather.
Wow, that's quite a resume. And now you're doing an art studio in Winchester, but you've had some pretty significant other career opportunities in healthcare. So how did you get so involved with healthcare?
Well, I actually started out in technology. So I started out, I went to Boston College and I started at a company called Kronos, and I was the 25th employee at a company that grew very rapidly and became a very successful company. And I got to learn probably every side of the business being there. And then from there, I had the opportunity to work at Ziff Davis, which was a huge special interest publisher. They published PC Week, PC Magazine.
Wow.
And I got the opportunity to interact with a lot of high-tech companies in the roles that I had there. And I eventually ended up in internet security at RSA and doing marketing strategy, communications, and brand. And it was serendipity that landed me into a role at the Institute for Healthcare Improvement, where they were looking for help with their brand strategy and marketing. They were very successful and ready to kind of grow to the next level. So that's how I ended up in healthcare.
Wow. So you've got this healthcare connection, you have the technology connection, and now with the studio, you have this art connection. So where did that come from?
So what I found in all of the roles that I've had is that there's a certain quality that I find in employees, that I found in approaches to problems. And I think at IHI I saw it the most poignantly, which is a sort of sense of optimism and creative thinking in approaching problems. So IHI has a great reputation for taking a seemingly intractable problem and applying some good systems thinking and some innovative brainstorming approaches and collaborative approaches to find solutions that haven't been found before and that are affordable and actually have very measurable impact. So, for example, in hospitals today, people used to die of central line infections. They used to die of ventilator-associated pneumonia. And IHI thought, well, why does that have to happen all the time? Why is that so prevalent? And they took a Deming-like systems approach, and Deming transformed manufacturing in Japan and applied it to these problems, and realized that if you did a certain set of things reliably, they tended to look for bright spots. They looked for the places where people had very low levels of these deaths from pneumonias or central line infections. And they learned that if you applied a systems thinking and you found exactly what it was that could improve a patient's ability to resist the kinds of things that could happen that could lead to death, then maybe they could put together a bundle that if they could spread that, those kinds of incidences would go down. And so they actually sought to save 100,000 lives, and cooperating with a lot of hospitals did that. So I watched them over and over tackle problems that everybody thought couldn't be solved. And at the center of it was taking a pragmatic approach, but also being sort of undaunted by the fact that this is a problem. If there's anywhere that there's a bright spot where progress is being made, then let's really go there and examine that and figure out what the components are and then apply that in other places.
Wow, I love that. And you talked about vision, having a vision that they really were motivated. And I think that makes a really big difference to have a goal in mind to really accomplish that. That has a driving force behind it. Did you find that, I'm curious about that particular experience, did you find the people there were unique? Because you noticed that they really had the success that maybe other companies or corporations were not having. And I'm wondering, was it because of the individuals that were there? Was it a mindset? Was it a corporate, policy thing? Why there?
Well, the organization was founded by someone named Don Berwick, and Don Berwick recently ran for governor. He ran against Charlie Baker in the recent election. And he is an incredibly, and he was the head of Medicare and Medicaid Services in Washington. He's an incredibly charismatic, innovative, resourceful kind of person himself, and he was a great leader for the organization and is in the healthcare industry. I think a year or two ago, he gave the commencement speech at both Harvard Medical School and Harvard Business School.
Wow.
So, I mean, his approach and sense of, we can do it. They had quotes on all the walls at IHI, and one of them was, if you see a problem, throw your hat over the wall and then go get your hat. So it's just
I love that.
Go for it. Don't, just, you can, if you make that attempt, if you make that commitment that you're going to try to solve that problem, just make the commitment and then go do it.
Wow. So I'm hearing vision, commitment, positivity, right? And, I read some research once about the brain, and it said that your brain is not designed to make you happy. It's designed to keep you safe.
Right.
So it pays more attention to negative things than it does to positive things because that's its job. So to counteract that, just to get equal, you have to have, I think, 3 positive impressions, thoughts, experiences just to balance one negative experience. So
yeah, and that's positive psychology, and there's been a lot of research that's been done that's proven that actually that you can reverse that the brain is that there's neuroplasticity, that the brain is not forced to be in that kind. If you're a negative person, you don't have to stay a negative person all your life. If you're somebody who sort of sees the problems and never sees the solution, that's you can make an adjustment so that you can start to see the solution. And I think IHI had that sense of optimism, and people would come to our conferences and say, I just feel invigorated and ready to go and go back and make changes. And there was also a belief, and this is something that I try to bring to the offsites as well, in small tests of change. So first you have a very clear aim. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? Then you need to understand, how are you going to measure? How will you know if you actually achieve that aim? How will you measure results? But then once you've figured out, okay, if this is my aim, here are the ways that I'm going to go about trying to achieve that, the primary drivers of success to achieve that aim. Then it's small tests of change. So, we talk about failing fast and failing forward. Failure's our friend. We're going to learn a whole lot from failing as long as we fail fast and fail forward. Take that information and use it to go to the next test and keep laddering on that knowledge. So, so I think positive psychology, which you're talking about, is something that individuals are being encouraged to adopt, but actually we need to see that within organizations. We need to see that within politics. We need to approach with optimism. We need to approach with a belief that there's a third way and that we don't have to get into our corners and done. We're on opposite sides. There's nowhere to go. And that all of that is something that I feel very passionate about and hope to build on within the business.
Yeah, and I think that, human beings are driven to be creative. And creativity happens in positive environments. If a kid is feeling shut down or negative, they're not playing, they're not in that space. It has to be a fun, open environment. So now you're bringing that to the studio. So talk to us a little bit about what's going on there and how you're taking that positivity, that vision, that commitment, those small wins and increments and metrics and bringing that to the studio.
Yeah, so I grew up in this town, and I also had a grandfather who owned a summer camp, and I rode to camp in the front of the Oldsmobile with him. And doing something with kids and creativity in my hometown has been something that I've thought of for a really long time. And I guess back when I thought of that, I didn't think about the impact it would have on adults and how it can literally change how we see and approach and solve problems. But in the studio, we offer classes to children and to adults, painting, drawing, decorative painting, and often people come in and say, I'm not an artist. I have no talent at all. The first thing that I say to a class, and I had 7-year-olds in for a party, and I was leading them through a painting project, and the first thing I said to them is, who in here is an artist? And every single one of them put their hand up. There's a great TED Talk about creativity and are our schools killing creativity? And the speaker, I think his name's Sir Kenneth Robinson, tells the story of a child who's drawing a picture of God. And the teacher says to the child, well, no one knows what God looks like. And the child said, well, they will soon.
That's awesome.
That's a great. But, a lot of adults, I think I get really excited about getting adults in doing things because, we might not all be artists, but we're all creative.
We're all creative.
We learn to walk. We learn to talk. There's all.
And I think there's a drive to want to be creative. And I think that's even more important. Even if you're not, there's a difference between being creative and being talented or being, refined and a master.
Right.
And you don't have to be a master to be creative,
right?
Because it's just a natural drive, I think. And I think if that's not there, if it's suppressed, that's a quality of life issue.
Yeah, and if we always associate creativity with a particular job, so that's the job of the graphic design department, or that's the job of the photography department, or that cuts out a whole lot of people who might have solutions to problems. So I love a book that's called Creative Confidence, and it was written by the founder of the D School at Stanford, which stands for design. So there used to be just a B school, the business school. Now there's a D school, and the D school specifically draws upon all the disciplines within the university, and they'll work on problems like one particular problem that they worked on was an incubator solution for India, where the incubators were way too expensive and babies were dying. And this group that included finance people and business people and creative people and engineers all came together and designed an incubator system that was affordable and that saved thousands of lives now. So if we think that only the creatives, the quote creatives, have answers, we're really missing out on a whole lot of talent that could change the world.
So what is your definition of creativity then?
It's a really good question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that before. I would say it comes back to positive psychology. I think it's a sense of optimism that there are solutions, and it's keeping our eyes open. It's people who look for, who have eyes to see patterns that are happening.
Yeah, I think connections, right?
Making connections. It's being able to listen to other people. It's being able to hold things loosely. So if I have an idea and then you add on to that idea and you toss it back to me and we can kind of catch ball it. So I think it's really a kind of openness and confidence in this sort of innate ability that we all have that's gotten us to be able to do amazing things.
Yeah, and I would add to that structure and systems, because you're talking about at IHI, and I was thinking of Mozart the whole time because, everybody thinks he's this creative genius, but it was the classical period, and it was a lot about structure.
Yes.
And how things fit together.
Yes.
So you have to have both.
Well,
right?
And even an artist, when they approach a painting, and this is something that I'm learning because I'm not an artist, but when I see people in the studio teach a class and they'll say, well, let's just look at this. Now, if we were going to try to reproduce this painting, it's cut in a third. I mean, they're planning. They're thinking about how am I using the space on this canvas? What is the style of this? What are the materials I'm going to need? So you're right. I think creativity is not, and this is where the systems comes in, it's not just out there, random, willy-nilly.
No.
Yeah, is there a side of it that is really free form? There definitely is, but if it's not if it can't be made pragmatic and grounded in a business environment, then it's not serving the purpose for that business potentially. So,
well, I love that. I mean, you keep saying you're not an artist, but I would beg to differ. I mean, you're bringing this you're birthing this creative entity in the Studio on the Common, and it's your vision, it's your commitment, and it's also connecting, right? Because it's connecting technology. It's literally technology, because I know you have the
technology back.
Yeah, the screen in the studio, and
oh yeah, I have
all the like the things that you would need for a business meeting,
right? With
all the art supplies all mixed together. So I really love that.
And even when we're working with kids, we have a wonderful teacher there, Sean Baker, who's doing this class with the kids, and it's drawing. But when they draw, they're drawing something. And then I have a giant whiteboard, a whole wall that's idea paint. And the kids create this scene, and then they do this stopgap animation. And so they put an airplane up, and they put a monkey going up a tree, and then they get it all up there, and then they drop to the floor, and he takes a picture, and then they jump up, and they move the plane, and they move the monkey, and then they drop to the floor, and then at the end, it's this great animation that they've done. And they even had a girl, I saw one today, where a girl had done a cartwheel on a balance beam. And so we try to bring technology in and use the space. The space was purpose-built for these kinds of activities.
That's the vision again.
Right, I mean, right. And that came from business because, at IHI, we had what we called the sandbox. And I mean, we had governments, healthcare systems from Denmark coming and saying, can we come work in the sandbox? We had people working on all kinds of problems, people from the National Institutes of Health, people from Medicare and Medicaid services. So I saw how having a set of tools and a open space and then some new ideas about how to collaborate and work together could, really rapidly get you to new places that you weren't getting to before.
So who's coming to play in your sandbox now?
Well, besides the kids and the classes, we've had a great group of kids coming through. I had in a financial services firm that came in and wanted to think about their place in the community. I had a law firm come in that wanted to have a team event. I had the Institute for Healthcare Improvement come in to do some strategy work, their business and marketing teams. And I had a marketing team from a content marketing technology solution in Boston. They've all been slightly different, and the response has been really wonderful. It's something that there's a lot of pent up desire for people to be able to get off the hamster wheel. I have one of my favorite cartoons is a picture of a hamster who's sitting with his legs crossed on the wheel, and it says, "I had an epiphany." And these, people are under the gun all the time at work, and they can't do their best work that way. Google allows their engineers, or insists that their engineers take 20% of their time to just think of new things because there's an appreciation. Archimedes discovered displacement sitting in a bathtub, right? He went in, the water went down. You need to get off the treadmill sometimes to be able to have those epiphanies and breakthroughs in your business, and also just to refresh and rejuvenate.
Yeah, so that would be a great tip for people who can't come to the studio, just to create that space in their lives. Right. And I always say, if it's not on the calendar, it's not happening.
Yeah, you're right.
So you have to schedule that time for yourself to be creative and to think. And I've heard a lot of really successful people say one of their biggest luxuries is to think. I think it was Sarah Blakely, is she the CEO of Spanx?
Yes.
That's one of her biggest luxuries is to think, So I love that. And you're leading the way of this sort of new wave of creativity and problem solving. So as a leader, I know that you are always investing your time in leadership development, and you've done some training in that. Yes. And along with that positive psychology, there's sort of a new twist on how people are seeing and viewing leaders and leadership. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I had at IHI, I've always led teams, and at IHI I had the opportunity to participate in a program by a man named Parker Palmer, who's a sort of a Renaissance man. He's an educator. He has written a number of books on transforming the education system. The Courage to Lead program started for educators, so he extended that into healthcare. And healthcare, physicians and nurses and everybody in healthcare is very beleaguered. I mean, there's the disease is growing, the age of the population is growing, the chronic diseases and diabetes and obesity, it's just, and the price of healthcare is just skyrocketing without the best results. We spend twice as much in the United States on healthcare, and some people say we get about half the results. And so anyway, this program was meant for leaders within healthcare. And healthcare in the past has been a very command and control kind of environment. And what we're learning is that leadership, that's not the skill that's needed anymore. The skills of leadership used to be command and control. You kind of, the top guy or gal figures out what's going to happen. They pass that down to the troops. The troops execute, and the job of the leader is to put together, presentations and sell ideas, and there's this whole notion of servant leadership and creating environments where you can actually have your employees thrive, where creating environments. Somebody said to me today when I said I was going to be doing this show, they said, that word thrive is coming up all over the place. Again, that's positive psychology. Instead of us trying to get the average in schools or in healthcare or anywhere, what about the outlier that's doing a fantastic job? They're thriving. Like, how do we train people to thrive? So this program was all about that, and I was in the program with, heads, chairs of departments in universities who had 1,000 docs reporting to them, anesthesiologists, and surgeons, and they were all there to learn how to be leaders who were serving the people who work for them and creating the opportunities and the space for them to be as successful as possible. And so, that's been...
So what were some of the, I was reading some of the research, and I noticed there were 3 kind of main points that you took away from that. What were some of the main attributes of leadership moving forward that people need to think about?
Well, I think one thing is it is not command and control. The front line, and particularly in healthcare, the front line, the people who are doing the job day to day have a lot of the answers themselves. So I think of this when I'm running the shop, and, I'm building a business that I never did before. I'm trying to co-create it. So I would say one is really thinking about every person in the business, every part of the business, and what piece of the puzzle do they hold? Right.
Yeah. And I've heard over and over again that if you want to be really successful as a leader, as a CEO, your job should be to get yourself unemployed as soon as possible.
Yes.
Because you're empowering your employees to take over so that you can have less hands-on.
And think about the next problem that might need to be solved.
And be strategic.
Right.
Instead of, the drone, the worker bee.
Exactly. I also think co-creating, the idea that, when I started to think about this business in my hometown, it really has 4 or 5 different business models. So there is the store, there's the adult and children's classes. We do a lot of birthday parties for kids, which is really a lot of fun. We do the business offsites, and then people want private events, and we rent the space. When I was thinking of all of that, I kept thinking, don't try to define it so strictly. Hold it loosely, because what does Winchester need? I don't know exactly what they need. And I'd like to build something that is very useful in the community, and something that we can build and sustain and make successful. So I'd say that's another attribute.
And I love what you're saying, because I do a lot of branding for people as well, and yet that's your experience. And people, I always think of my job as integration instead of separation, of bringing the different, keep zipping it up. Like, that's a singing thing too, of zipping up your support and your breath.
Right.
That it's not about like having disparate pieces to the brand or the person. It's bringing those pieces
all together
to make something new and creative and organic. And that's when it gets really exciting. And so I love that, because that's what you're doing with the studio.
When I used to do branding and people didn't understand it, I'd say, okay, everybody think of one word that describes this business. And now let's all say it at once. 1, 2, 3. And 20 million words would come out. But if we all say the same word, it has so much more power. I brought something, if I could share it. Is there time?
Yeah, sure.
So this was sent to me by the head of the program, Courage to Lead. And it's about leadership, and it's called The Contract. And a lot of times in offsites and in that program, they'd start with poetry, because poetry gets you out of your day-to-day very effectively and very quickly. Because when you get a team together and you don't have a lot of time with them, you want to sort of create a new space right off the bat. But I just think this captures it so beautifully. It's called the contract, a word from the lead. And in the end, we follow them, not because we are paid, not because we might see some advantage, not because of the things they have accomplished, not even because of the dreams they dream, but simply because of who they are, the man, the woman, the leader, the boss, standing up there when the wave hits the rock, passing out faith and confidence like life jackets, knowing the currents, holding the doubts, imagining the delights and terrors of every landfall, captain, pirate, and parent by turns, the bearer of our countless hopes and expectations. We give them our trust, we give them our effort. What we ask in return is that they stay true. And that was by William Ayod. But it's basically, provide that environment where the best of people can emerge and be supported and come to fruition in whatever the effort is that they're working on.
Yeah, but also I think it demands that you be a leader, right? That they're buying into you as a human being, not just as the brand, right?
Right.
It's your integrity, your authenticity, your courage. I was just talking to someone the other day, and I said, if leadership came without criticism, there'd be a lot more chiefs.
Yeah,
right. So I was thinking of that when you're talking about the waves hitting the rock. It's like it's a decision,
right,
and a commitment. And what I also love about what you're talking about, and it's woven into everything you're saying, is your commitment to the community. And I know that you grew up here. You could have opened this studio in downtown Boston. You've brought it back to the burbs, and your community, your family has grown up in this community, and you have, Mark Ockerbloom, right? He came right through this studio and is now gone on to, other things that are more dynamic, and not that this isn't dynamic, but,
but he got to start here, and now he anchors the Fox News and has very fond memories of starting out in Winchester at WinCam.
Well, Winchester is a lovely place with
great.
lovely people like you, and I'm so happy that you were my guest tonight.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well,
I'm thrilled to have been here.
I'm so happy, and I want to acknowledge you for bringing this to Winchester, for stepping up and being a leader, for sharing your vision, and for bringing the technology and the artistry together to create something new, and for creating a space that is not carved in stone, but is fluid and organic, and listening to the community to be of service. And that is the mark of a true leader. So I really want to acknowledge you for that.
Oh, thank you. It's my privilege to do it, really.
Yeah. And then I always ask my guests, in this moment, as we're communing together and sitting here, just in this moment, what are you most grateful for?
The opportunity to do this, the opportunity to do something that I've dreamt about for a long time, to have my kids see me follow a dream that I had, and to have so much support, to have people come in and say thank you for opening something different and new and taking a chance. And they lean in and lend their support. So I feel really grateful for that.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for you for being here. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And I'm grateful for the audience for joining us as well. Thank you for your time. And until next time, here's to hitting all your high notes. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Hi everyone, it's Heather again. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Thrive. Every week we try to bring you people and information to help you change your life for the better, to grow your business, to expand your thinking, and to open your heart. If you did enjoy this content, I would so appreciate it if you would go to iTunes and review us. Let us know how we're doing. We'd love to hear your thoughts and your feedback. And if you found this information helpful or useful in any way, please share it on out. Let your friends and family know about Thrive. And finally, if you'd like to know more about me, you can visit me at heatherpoduska.com. Until next time, here's to hitting all your high notes.